Well, good day, everybody. It's about 12:30 on the 30th of April, 2025. So it's noon time. Very bad time to be doing any kind of photographing or anything. Wow, that guy's a speedster there. The bicycle guy. Anyway, I'm right out. Well, I'm on Prospect Nezavisimosti, the biggest street in Minsk. And of course, I've been over here. Showed you guys that Soviet theater before, and this over here is the Academy of Sciences, and I'll be walking around there a little bit, showing you guys around here. Okay, I said a couple days ago, let's just get right into the news. There's a lot of news. I said a few days ago, I was mentioning about Ukraine being a very corrupt country. Some say it's the most corrupt country on planet Earth. Some say it's the most corrupt country in Europe, which it certainly is. And some say it is one of the most corrupt countries in the world, but it's difficult. I mean, who's going to sit there and be able to measure on, what is the measuring stick for corruption in any kind of a country anyway? So anyway, it's up there. But I would actually say it's the most corrupt country when you think about what goes on through there, and I've talked about it a lot of times. So Mike Waltz, the advisor to Donald Trump, said was the most corrupt and is one of the most corrupt countries in the world. I would put it at number one because they're dealing in flesh, they're dealing in organs, they're dealing in drugs, they're dealing in weapons. I don't know if there's any country anywhere that deals at least on the scale that Ukraine does in those things right there. And how many people are involved? Lots and lots of corrupt people. So a mega corruption. So that's just what Mike Waltz said. He said it on camera, by the way. Yes, okay. And Trump. I don't know, a lot of people walking on. This is a metro at Academia Nauk. The Academy of Sciences metro, and just a little bit down this way is if you can see those other gates over there, that fence, nice fence, that's one of the main entrances to Belarusian, what is it, BNTU, Belarusian Technical University over there. So I don't even know what's really around over here on this side. I don't really walk around here that often. Let's look at the pretty colors, the pretty flags here. So let's see, what else do I have here? But if you've been hearing Trump talk lately, and I've been kind of reiterating that Trump is actually more biased, and there's no doubt about it. Trump is more biased towards Ukraine than he is towards Russia. But I guess he sees the importance of not, being enemies with Russia, because he has said it himself. They have nuclear weapons, a lot of them. They have more than the United States, I guess. So I guess that's a country you don't want to be in too bad with. So he's trying to do deals with them, and of course it's much better off to be friends with somebody who's a lot more powerful than it is to be enemies. And Ukraine, right next door to them is Russia, and they decided that they want to be enemies. As a matter of fact, worse than enemies. They've decided that they want to annihilate, kill them, and exterminate Russians. So, I mean, that's a well-known fact. They're the master race. Okay, let's see what else we have here. But there's so much for Trump saying he's not biased. He might not be biased sometimes when he talks with words, but if you look at Trump, well, how much money is he sending to Russia? None. I don't know. Do they still have frozen assets? Russian frozen assets there like they do in Europe? Well, maybe they do, but I think Europe just has a lot more. I don't think the amount that the United States has of Russian frozen assets is not that much. I think apparently they must have taken their gold out of the basement of the New York Federal Reserve, because otherwise that would be a big mention right there. Germany still has half of their gold. They took half of their gold back, and as I've already mentioned, the the gold that they took back was not their gold, not the gold they put in there, which was 99% gold, and the United States sent them back something inferior. So much for the honesty of the United States. Let me walk and see what's going on over there. Past these guys over here. Okay, let's see. So anyway, since Trump is still sending weapons, Trump is still sending money to Ukraine, he hasn't cut them off. And as we all know, and I said my plan for ending all of this is you just cut off Ukraine, and then they're going to have to make friends with Russia or start to deal with Russia. But they're trying to make it look like Russia doesn't want to deal, and Russia doesn't want to make a deal. Russia's coming out over and over and over again saying the same thing. They want to make a deal, and as you know, Zelensky has a ban on dealing with Russians, so nobody is allowed to make negotiations with Russia. It's against the law in Ukraine at the moment. Zelensky has never lifted that ban, and Russia, contrarily, has said, okay, we'll talk to Zelensky, even though he's missed his mandate. He is not the elected leader of Ukraine anymore, because his term ran out. His term ran out quite a while ago, and he's still in charge, and he's not holding elections. And many say that he's not holding elections because he won't win. He won't win the election. People are sick of him. As a matter of fact, they believe that, who's the guy, Zaluzhny, the guy that's the ambassador right now of England, and they said he would win if there was an election. A lot of people say that up in the higher circles, and that is the main reason why Zelensky sent him to London, to get him out of Ukraine. But actually he's a Nazi too, you know. So actually there's no way of denazification in Ukraine unless, you know, Russia really goes real nuclear or something, which they don't want to do that. They're not going to do that. That's not Russia's way. Okay, so far what it looks like, when he's still sending weapons, he's still sending money, maybe not on the scale of Joe Biden, but Trump is also a sucker. He's a sucker, just like he was talking about Joe Biden being stupid. So, you know, he's still sending weapons. He's just as stupid. Too bad there's some construction going on here. I'd like to walk around through here. It looks really nice. Look at the size of these friggin' columns, baby. I was hearing that they might have I don't think they have a bookstore in there. I think the one I just left that you guys didn't see, I think that was considered the bookstore of the Academy of Sciences. Excuse me, guys. Do you guys have a bookstore? Oh, wait. Yeah. Maybe there are some frozen assets right there. Yeah, looks like their assets are frozen back there, so. Okay. This reminds me, actually, you know, if you guys saw that movie with Jackie Chan and whoever that one British guy is, I think it's 80 Days Around the World. They give some speech in front of the Academy of Sciences in London. You know, they could very well do it here, but somebody would have to yell really loud and have some good speakers, because they have friggin' traffic right out here in front. Okay, so I don't know if Trump is watching my channel. Sometimes he's not, but I think some of his other people are. But Medvedev, he was talking. So it's kind of weird. I put out some things like in a video, and like the next day it comes out as big news. Oh, not big news, but it comes out as at least honorable mentions here in Belarus with I mean, I tell you what, I'm just too friggin' you know, watching all these people. I gotta just concentrate on something so I don't keep misspeaking. But anyway, a lot of these, whenever I say something on my channel, a lot of times some politician or something kind of repeats the same thing, sometimes almost identically. And Medvedev, there's been a lot of talk in the last few days in Russia. A lot of things going on. There's been meetings. Medvedev had a meeting of his own, and then there was a meeting, more of a meeting. It's a meeting of a lot of higher up people in Russia. and Medvedev had one, and then also Vladimir Putin with Alexander Lukashenko. They had a little talk in front of a lot of people and audiences and things like that, and a lot of them are reiterating and saying things that I've already said just recently. And one of the big things is talking about Nazism, trying to get rid of Nazism. And Putin came out and said, we have to get rid of this Nazism. And he's mostly talking about, and they're talking about Lithuania and Latvia, as well as Ukraine. They did not mention Poland. It's very strange, but they are not even recognizing the fact right now that Poland are also Nazis. What they were talking about is historically it was Latvia and Lithuania. They joined, and of course Ukraine, all the western part of Ukraine, they joined Adolf Hitler, and a lot of them, I guess even the Latvians and the Lithuanians, they were also some of the people that went through Belarus massacring people. They're talking about it being genocide. It was a genocide against the Belarusian people. But I was also seeing people writing that they kept it quiet after World War II. And I guess now they're starting to talk about it a little bit more and more. And I believe even Lukashenko was talking about that it was a genocide. There's people talking about the really, really bad things. There's bad things that you would never, never, ever believe what they did in World War II. If you think that there's things going bad right now in Palestine and what the Israelis do, like to the babies and little children of the Palestinians, it was far worse in World War I or World War II what they were doing to the Belarusians, including the children. They kept some alive because they used them as blood banks. So they would take their blood, if they had wounded Germans, they would take the blood of the children, Belarusian children. They had them in camps. They took them away from their parents. They killed their parents. They took the children and they used them solely to take their blood from them. And if you hear about some of the way they killed these children, babies and things, they would, it's you think it's bad in Israel, you should hear what the things they did, like throwing babies up in the air and catching them on their bayonets, like the bayonet goes right through the baby, and cutting women's wombs open and then smashing the heads of the baby in front of the living mother and things like that. Lots of really bad. And if you don't call that genocide, what is that? That is pure genocide. Killing babies, unborn children. In other words, you're slitting open the wombs of the women and taking the babies out and killing them in front of the mother. And then of course they would kill the mother too. Lots of rapes, lots and lots and lots of rapes and things like that. So, but mostly a lot of murdering, a lot of killing, lots and lots of killing. And of course, like I said, it was all hushed up, and Lukashenko was not mentioning these things, but he was just mentioning about some of these really cruel things that happened in Belarus in World War II. And everybody talks about Poland, but they don't talk about Belarus. Belarus had it far, far worse than Poland. If you talk about the massacres and the things that was going on, the genocide, Poland was Girl Scouts compared to what they did to the Belarusians. Like I said, they wiped out 200 villages. They would massacre everybody in all the villages. And they did it a few times in places in Poland. I know that's big news, and they keep talking about it and talk about it. They don't talk about the 200 villages that they massacred everybody in the villages in Belarus. I went to Hatin, how they say it. There's one in Poland as well, but there's one in Belarus, and it's not that far from Minsk. I went there once. Maybe I'll have to take another tour. I don't know. I've been there twice already, and you'd have to look maybe in some of my past videos and look up Hatin. I think it has a lot of views, so it's... Anyway, enough of that stuff. But anyway, we're talking mostly about this, these things that Putin came out, and Lukashenko, and then there was Medvedev. And Medvedev, some of the things, he said exactly the same thing. It's like he watched my video. He almost took my exact words that I said, I don't know, was it weeks ago or a couple of weeks ago? And he just said it yesterday. So I was first, Medvedev. So listen, what did he say here? Well, let me finish a little bit about Trump. He's saying that he is open to continuing sending money to Ukraine, but he doesn't send any money, he doesn't send any weapons to Russia. Oh, but yet he has no favorites. That doesn't make any sense to me. You don't send that to Russia, but you do send that to Ukraine. You know. Gosh. And some of these nasty things he's now also saying about Russia that is not even true. It's true about Ukraine. So this was after he had his little meeting with Ukraine. Maybe he's just kind of playing it a little bit. You know how Trump, I don't know if he's that dumb, but the United States has always been against Russia. Even if it's just short periods of time they've been friends with Russia, just very short periods of time. So it's not going to be surprising if Trump is fully on the side of Ukraine. Because, like I said, American government has never been on the side of Russia. As a matter of fact, mostly all Western governments have never been on the side of Russia. You can go, like I said, I should look up the year when Albert the Bear from the Ascanian dynasty was given the governance of Nordmark, which is where Kaliningrad is now. Anyway, that's part of Russia, and of course, obviously, Europe is talking about taking over that part right now. As a matter of fact, I don't think I wrote it in the notes here, but I should have. Zelensky was giving a talk, and there was Duda, the leader of Poland, was there. And Zelensky, this was just yesterday, and Zelensky is saying that Russia is planning to attack Poland from Belarus this summer. He said they're going to act like it's military exercises. I don't know. Zelensky said this stuff before, but right now, Duda was sitting there looking at him, and anyway, but he says they are information. Zelensky was actually a little bit more right about these North Korean soldiers, and it's a minute of embarrassment for myself because apparently they were there, but I saw a picture of those soldiers with Kim Jong-un or whatever in Korea. It's about one platoon, so it's not like Zelensky said 17,000, or the United States and other people are saying 12,000. How do they even have that discrepancy right there? But they just showed about 60 people at maximum. It looked like a big platoon, and that's all it was. Kim Jong-un sitting in the middle, and then I guess, who was it? Somebody in the West saying, 600 North Korean soldiers perished and this was only in the Kursk region. So North Korea was assisting Russia with about a platoon, which is nothing, in the Kursk region. And that's about it. And somebody was saying 600 North Koreans died. Somebody in the West. Where did they get that information? I don't know. Maybe I'll be wrong again on that one. But anyway, Zelensky, the very honest man, as you all know, what he's telling us, I guess he has these evening messages all the time where he talks. And there was one time, maybe about a year and a half ago, and it looked like he had some white powder on his face. I don't know where that came from. They got some times where he's acting really strange. A lot of people have, he's going like this. I don't know. What's it like when you're on that fuzzy white powder? Okay, now Medvedev. So, when I was saying actually two things. I'll do a little bit of a prep on this one here. I was saying two things that Ukraine. One thing I said is because Ukraine was bombing, which at that time was their own people. Russia had not moved in yet. They were bombing their own people, and they had killed 14,000 of their own people in the Donbass, for the crime of, for the most part, speaking Russian and not wanting to be a part of Ukraine. So they wanted to bomb them into compliance. So we're going to, keep bombing you. And I just mentioned at one time, there was a school bus, and they bombed a school bus filled with children and things like that. That's, really, just like I was just telling you about what these same people did, these Nazis were doing to the Belarusians in World War II. Oh, but that's all lies. They're doing weird crap right now, too, to their own people still. 2 children, by the way, in Ukraine. And people even mention that. When Russia captures a lot of these soldiers, there's so many of these soldiers, they all come out, virtually all of them say, and they were ordered to kill civilians by the Ukrainian government, by the military, which takes their orders from the government, and it's like Zelensky, he's never said for them to stop. So There's just too much funny stuff. I mean, I'd have to be really planning my videos a lot better if I wanted to, make these things sound much more, organized anyway, how they're killing people and all that. So, I said they lost their right to govern over those people. So what did Medvedev say just yesterday? He said, let me see, I had two things. Where's my second one out there? Well, Medvedev's, he said, they no longer have the right to rule. Wait a minute, that's what I said. I said, because they don't care about their people. So let's see. I thought I put a quote. Yeah, I did put a quote. Here I go. Okay. And I also said, that they shouldn't be legitimate because they're sending their people. I said to the meat grinder and to certain death. I mentioned that practically every video, like a broken record. So let's see. Medvedev said, he calls them cutthroats. He said the government of Ukraine are cutthroats who are sending peaceful citizens to their own nation to the slaughter without a second thought, and are not thus qualified to govern Ukraine. He said a regime founded on neo-Nazi ideology has no right to exist. So there's a lot of this talk right now going out, and I don't think it's any kind of a prerequisite why Putin is saying that they cannot allow that, a Nazi government to exist. And Medvedev said about the same thing. And then Trump was also coming out yesterday. I'm just piecing things together for you guys. He was saying that he stopped Putin from conquering all of Ukraine. But, Putin said that he is willing to freeze the conflict on the lines where it's at right now, as long as, he said at one time, as long as Ukraine withdraws their soldiers from the remainder of those regions there, the Kherson, of course, Donetsk and Lugansk, Kherson, and Zaporozhye, those four regions. And of course, Zelensky, he's still back saying he still wants Crimea. And Trump and everybody said that's a done deal. That happened a long time ago. Basically forget about it. And of course, Crimea did not even belong to Ukraine for a very long period of time. I think it was in 1954. And Russia had that lease, 100-year lease on the naval base there, Sevastopol. And all those people basically never wanted to be part of Ukraine either. Most all those people. There's even a lot of people, apparently, that Trump doesn't seem to know. But Putin is probably not even going to free them, at least as things look right now, such as Odessa and Kharkiv. They don't want to be part of Ukraine either, a lot of those people. And of course, Zelensky is trying to massacre the people that they designate as being Russian, send them to the front, kill them all. They're the ones that go to the front. And the main people that go to the meat grinder are the ones that are of a Russian ethnicity, things like that. They're still rounding up people. There's so many videos that are still coming out. And there's even sometimes women that will not let go of their husbands, I guess. I'm assuming it's their husband. And now Zelensky's talking about sending women. And they were also wrestling. There was one guy in a video I just watched this morning. He was 18 years old. So they're not sending 19, they're sending 18-year-olds as well. They're wrestling him down to send him to the front. And there was like 3 of them. And sometimes they even kill these people. They beat them up so badly, trying to force them into the vans, that they beat them up so badly. And there's even one guy that died. They don't even care if they're unhealthy. As long as you have, matter of fact, there's even people that don't have a leg. They lost a leg or an arm, and they still put them in. A lot of them even want to go there. Purebred Nazis, so they just have their desire to kill the Russians. Anyway, so what else? Okay, and I also read, this morning, and I've been seeing, I think, some hints of it already. The rest of you have as well, that Trump has adopted, I guess is a better word. He's adopted Zelensky's plan, and he's calling for a 30-day ceasefire. And Russia is saying that's not realistic. They've been saying this all along. It's not realistic, and it isn't realistic because Zelensky's just going to use that to replenish all of his forces and keep sending more weapons up there and use logistics. And I even said yesterday, I said, I tell you what, I think that Putin is kind of, I hate to say this, and I hope they're going to come after me. But, and I don't mean it wholeheartedly that he's dumb, because Putin is not dumb. But I said it's a dumb move that Putin has announced there will be this Easter ceasefire. I don't know, maybe he's got some other sort of a plan that's not going to be as dumb as I'm thinking. I wouldn't have announced this 30-day ceasefire more than a week in advance, for the May Day celebrations of when the Soviet Union defeated the Nazis. And with the help, a little bit of help of the United States and a couple other people, but obviously it was mostly Russia that defeated the Nazis, and not the United States. And even Lukashenko, even yesterday he was talking at this big conference in this hall to all these people, and he said there are people present that know that he's speaking the truth, that the United States, and I guess, they indoctrinate us to make us think that the United States came and freed all of these people from these concentration camps, but it was the Soviet Union. I think, personally, that the United States did in two places. There was a very small one in, I don't say the Rhineland, what is that area? I'm even forgetting, because I know the area. Not so far from, I guess, Koblenz. There was a small concentration camp there, and that was actually one where it is very possible that nobody's ever heard of it. I don't know the name even, but that they might have actually done some experiments on Jews there, the Nazis. They might have. All the other stuff, the lampshades and all that, that's all fake. It's all fake, and it's put out, and that, I don't even know exactly when that was put out, when they started coming up with all that fake stuff. Even the United States government had put out official documents that is all fake. And they said that they would prosecute people that are making up all this fake stuff. Lots and lots of fake stuff, and now it's policy. Now it's policy that all of these things happen when in fact they did not happen. There was nothing like, experiments on Jews and making lampshades out of their skin and all that. Maybe some people still buy that, some people still propagate it, but if you keep saying the lie over and over enough, and you do everything possible to get rid of the truth, to a large extent, a lot of people think that is the truth. So the Nazis were some dastardly people in a lot of places. Obviously, I just said that they were nasty people here in Belarus, and of course those, I guess, the worst ones were those, from Ukraine, and of course they had Latvia and Lithuania. They were coming in here and committing atrocities, massacring babies and things like that. And it's very strange, And Belarus has always been trying to get along with these countries, always, to include Poland, by the way, and now they're huge enemies. And then you have to ask yourself, well, what did Belarus ever do to them? Well, they existed, and they're friends with Russia. That's crime enough. So try to look and see what did Lukashenko, what did Belarus ever do to these people to deserve the crap that comes out of them, even from the United States? Well, they exist. Russia is there, so it's like with Poland and all that sort of thing. I should try to read, and a matter of fact, I think I have that in German, or I did have it in. Somebody gave a gift to me of War and Peace from Leo Tolstoy, and I don't have it anymore, unfortunately. But that was about the war around 1812 with Napoleon. It was based on that time. There's a lot of movies and things about it as well. But anyway. So Russia went to France and made them attack. Who was it? Putin back then. He went in a time machine. He went over there and he pissed off Napoleon, and that's why Napoleon came to attack Russia. Why in the heck? What in the heck would they want of Russia anyway? Way over there in France. I don't know. Maybe they thought it was easy pickings, huge open territories with not that many people. So let's keep going. I'm getting off on tangents, you guys. Somebody, I think it was Stephen Green, he said he likes the tangents. Some people have before, and I find this stuff interesting, and I guess maybe that's why I don't have so many subscribers, because maybe a lot of people don't find that stuff interesting. But anyway, maybe they just want to hear just news. That all is relevant. It's all relevant anyway. Okay. So, anyway, that was put out by Kellogg that Trump is adopting Zelensky's desire for a 30-day ceasefire. And of course, what would that bring? What would that bring? It just, any kind of a ceasefire. I mean, look at this. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Then it's like, they've done it twice already with Minsk, and they just keep rebuilding. I mean, they're doing it all the time. You could say they did it even before that time, even before the Minsk agreements, even before the special military operation. They kept just, and that was the West. They're building up military. They were, training troops, sending weapons and ammunition, and now they want to do it again. And Trump, by the way, the United States is still sending stuff. So, it's all stupid stuff. Anyway. That's a nice girl. Anyway, Finland. Talk about distractions. Anyway, well, let's see. Did I finish this stuff here? Oh, some of these people are saying, "Oh, the ball is now in Russia's court." Kellogg, I think, said that. Now the ball is in Russia's. It's not in Russia's courts. It's in Ukraine's court. Russia said they'll agree to almost everything. Not a 30-day ceasefire. That says nope. Nilza, you're not going to go beyond that point. No 30-day ceasefire. Anyway, they said they will deal with Zelensky, even though before they said so. They making all these concessions, but Zelensky wants what Zelensky wants, and it's just a friggin' trick. And the British know that. The French know that. They've even come out and admitted it. They want to pack Ukraine full of more weapons and keep the fight good. They said they want the war to keep going. I mean, so what more do you need? I mean, I don't know if Trump is dumb or if he's kind of playing them a little bit back. I don't know. Trump normally doesn't play these tricky games, but we'll find out here. Finland has also come. You know, what's the guy's name? Stubb? The girls started calling him Stubb. He's a kind of a tall, really weird-looking guy, the leader of Finland, and is that his real name, Stubb? Or is that the girls? The girls named him Stubb. I wonder how he got that name, Stubbs. Or Stubby. I wonder why he's a tall kind of guy. Anyway, girls give guys names, in the girls' locker room, Anyway, what do they call me? Anyhow, so let's keep going here. This guy, he's come out, and he's the place. Remember when Zelensky went in this huge underground city of a bunker in Finland, really nice, like a big shopping center or something, and it's an underground bunker. And let me mention this while we're talking about underground bunkers and things like that. I think it was Catherine Austin Fitz had an interview with Tucker Carlson just a few days ago, and she was talking about the fact that the United States has all kinds of military bases. I think she was mentioning at least 100 military bases underground. The United States has them, which I don't think so. At least they're not manned at the moment. Maybe they've built these places. There's been a lot of talk about something underneath, I think it's underneath the Denver airport, and lots of witnesses, people saying a lot of stuff going on there. But Catherine Austin Fitz, I think she was saying that they're connected by logistics underground. I don't think she's seen them. I think she's been hearing things. I don't know if that's accurate. She's very, very, I don't know why I can't, my vocabulary is so bad sometimes when I have the camera turned on. Well, she's somebody to listen to. So she's not somebody that talks out of her backside like Bolton or Zelensky or half of the leaders in Europe. So Stubb, the guy Stubb, he pulled his stub out. Anyway, Stubb he's warning Putin. Can you? Actually, Finland has got a very large military. I think they got maybe as far as manpower, I think they've got the biggest amount of people in the military in all of Europe. And I mentioned a lot about Finland yesterday. Finland used to always belong to Russia, and Russia gave them independence. They gave them extra territories. Russia gave, it's just, you could say it's similar to, except they were a Western country, and they got to choose. But Russia said, you have to stay neutral, and then we will never bother you. You can do whatever you want, just stay neutral. You'll have your independence, you have your sovereignty. But they decided they wanted to be in NATO, and they want to go after the Russians. Obviously, it's, I mean, how can you say obvious more obviously? These people, they want territory. Finland wants Russian territory. A lot of them do. They're talking about going after and defeating Russia and become the masters, but they want to go over and they want to get more territory. So they want to now be the masters. Good luck on that one. I don't know if the only time anybody has ever been successful in going militarily against Russia is during World War I, but that was actually from a flaw. If you think about it, Germany had sent Lenin. I've mentioned this before too. They sent Lenin of the Beatles. No, different Lenin, Lenin. They sent Lenin over there from Zurich, Switzerland, to destabilize Russia, and it worked. And he did. And he basically took Russia out of the war. I don't know if that means surrender or what. Anyway, so you could say, I don't know. I've got to start looking more into this kind of Russian history that we don't get taught in America, really. So maybe you could say that that Russia was defeated. I don't know. But of course, that would mean that the United States was defeated in Vietnam and quite a few other places as well, like Afghanistan. So it's the same thing. So other than that, Napoleon, or even before Napoleon, I guess there's other times that nobody's been effective in defeating Russia. Not even Great Britain. Great Britain. And remember in the Crimean time, they wanted to go, but they're wetting their pants and they're messing up a big stinky smell in their pants when it comes to Russia. And remember, you just heard recently Starmer talking about they're going to send some troops there, and Macron, you know. So you got Wellington and Napoleon over there they're going to send the troops, go against the bad Russians, and they're going to defeat them. You know, so some lady giving me a dirty look over there. Anyway, they said they're going to go over, they're going to get the Russians, and now since they're not getting the United States on board, and Poland said they're not going to do it because they've lost a heck of a lot of people already in this war. I don't know how many thousands Poland has lost, and a lot of people are losing. They're getting slaughtered. They're getting slaughtered by the Russians as it is now. So a lot of them said, well, we're not going to send anybody. Meloni of Italy said, well, we're not going to send anybody either. So Starmer said, dang, we got to, okay, so we're not going to do it either. And Macron, because they said they can't get enough troops. They said they can't even get 25,000. And I think the number that they need, they say, weird. Why did they say, I think it was 62,000 troops. Oh, for a peacekeeping mission, of course, which of course would turn into some sort of a battle. I don't know. And of course, if they, I think, Poland has like 70,000, and altogether, you think about it, they'd have more than Russia has. But then maybe, since it's known now that North Korea has a defensive alliance with Russia, and they were happy to send those soldiers, maybe they're starting to think twice. I think North Koreans, I believe they have what's listed as maybe the 4th largest military in the world. That's what some people say. The largest, believe it or not, I think is the United States. I didn't think so. I was thinking it was China. I was told it was China, but I don't know. Is it the biggest with weapons? If you talk about equipment and weapons and fighter jets and bombers, by far and away the United States is by far the biggest military. I think you can take the next 2 countries and add it together, and the United States still has far more weapons and a lot of soldiers. But what about the training? What is most efficient? The most efficient, by far, everybody knows that. Everybody on planet Earth knows right now the most efficient military are the Russians. There is no doubt. There's no lie to that. Even the United States admits it. So enough of that. Okay. Former MI6 boss. Now this is going to be a few things I'm going to get into right now, and I could get into some big trouble. And I hope you guys can see this video. I hope it doesn't get taken down, because these are the things that they like to remove me for. And I'm going to try to scoot around these things, be truthful and be informative at the same time, but at the same time put this stuff out. Other people are allowed to talk a lot of these things, but I'm not. And maybe there's tiny little things that I say that are not allowed to say. But anyhow, here goes. Former MI6 boss, the CIA of Great Britain, MI6. His name is Sir Richard Dearlove. Oh dear, I love you. Oh dear love, I love you. So Sir Richard, oh, the Queen must have loved him because the Queen knighted him to be Sir Richard Dearlove. Oh dear love. So he came out and he said, which I am grateful for, and it's maybe he's not such a bad guy after all. And he said that get this. How do I say this? I gotta say this. Now YouTube, it's not me saying this. It's this guy named Dearlove. This guy that's in charge of the intelligence operations. You know, the guy that goes gathering information for Great Britain. Supposed to be a very well-informed guy, this guy. But he's coming out with lies. And he said that COVID is not a natural virus. It was not created by some bats, you know, like you saw in that one movie or something. What was it called? Anyway, bats pooping on some other animals, and all of a sudden this virus gets created. You know, because it has bat spike proteins in it. And I won't go any further than that, but you know, I won't elucidate on what I'm getting at. But anyway, that it's not created in nature. That's what he said. It's just ridiculous stuff. Sure, it was. We all know that, and we all know the vaccines are so fantastic. Anyway, this guy says it was biotechnically engineered weapon developed for population reduction. Jeez, you know, I mean, just because Bill Gates' family was in his parents before him and all that, by the way, let me get further on. Anyway, Bill Gates says we have to reduce like the world's population, and Klaus Schwab and so many others. There's just too many people. So, you know, you can go back to the time of the Greeks. There were even people back then saying there were too many people on Earth and there has to be, you know, culled down. There's many times in history. It's called eugenics, anyhow. So, but Dearlove said he warned Boris Johnson about that. And there's also a renowned expert now coming out just recently. I don't know if he said it before as well. His name is Robert Redfield, not Redford, Redfield. You know, like fields filled with blood or something. Red fields, like there's some song or something during the Vietnam days or something like Crimson and Clover. Anyway, Robert Redfield said that he is 100. Listen to these guys, how gullible they are. He said he's 100% sure it originated in a lab. Oh, God, ridiculous stuff. You know, I mean, there's any hundreds of ways that this molecule can get the spike protein naturally from bats, because there's probably been some bats that were breeding with some chickens at some point in time. You guys all know that. Jeez. Also, another thing, and I saw this is absolutely incredible. As you guys remember, there was a TED Talk once with Bill Gates, and I've mentioned sometimes, some of you that watch this show, you know, my channel a little bit more often, you know, I'm talking about some magic number. I'm also showing these magic girls here. Too far away for you guys. But anyway, there's this magic number of 15, to be more specific, 15%. It's very straight, 15%. And anyway, in this video where they have Bill Gates on there, it resurfaced. It was taken down off the internet. So this was on a different social media platform. So I have to wonder if I'm going to be, I don't know, can I be even mention this? Anyway, Bill Gates has said, and he said this twice, that he said, you know, because he wants to save the world. He wants to save humanity. So he said that if the vaccines are very, very effective, that he can reduce the world's population with vaccines by 15%, because that would be saving the people. So that means that would reduce, that would be more, we would reduce, he misspoke. He meant reduce diseases by 15%. Anyway, that kind of rings a bell again with this 15%. There was a whistleblower, another person, somebody that worked at Pfizer that came out. Jeez, these whistleblowers coming out and saying this stuff. They said that in a vat, they have vats of 100, those little vials of vaccines. They have 100 in there. And this person had the audacity to say that only 15 of that 100 were actually the real vaccine and all the rest were placebos. Who would come up with some kind of lies like this? Just because they worked at Pfizer, and somebody paid, wait a minute, and Fauci, who was not even registered to go to court for any sort of a crime, was given blanket 100% pardon by Joe Biden. How did that come up? Just in case some of these crazy people decided to go against our hero, Anthony Fauci, that saved millions of people, by making us wear 3 masks at times and 6 feet distancing and all kinds of other things, and sterilize your hands and that kind of stuff. I mean, it was so needed, because just think, when the vaccines started rolling out, we still had more people even dying. That's how bad COVID was getting. So that we should have come out with those vaccines much earlier, because after the vaccines came out is when more people started dying. Yeah, because we weren't fast enough, I guess. Warp speed. So, anyhow. That's amazing that I saw that video again, because everybody thought that was disappeared. So anyway, let's keep... There's actually... Did I have more about this later? Anyway, no, let's keep going. It's strange, you see, you guys all heard about that big fire in the port in Iran. But a lot of times, when you have an airplane crash, the news starts putting out more and more airplane crashes all over the place. But it's very strange because they have so many of these fires and explosions, and they're going all over. It's not. There was another one in Iran, and they're happening in so many places. Let's see. There was one in London. It's the second one in London. They're like these with this black smoke billowing up, like a kilometer into the atmosphere. Huge, huge fires, like something maybe the whole size of this entire building. Actually, it's got another wing over there. I'm not including that wing, but geez. Lots of this stuff, and you can expect this stuff in Syria and of course Gaza, where they're bombing the smithereens out of that, or Yemen, United States bombing, and I mentioned that big attack that all Donald Trump sent, and he killed 8, if there's a bomb in Russia that happened from Russia, then Putin did it. So why can't I say that Trump did it? Trump killed, lots of children and things like that. It was that migrant center, that African migrant center in Yemen. But don't talk about that. Okay. Talked about Zelensky saying that Russia's going to attack Poland. Okay, Lukashenko and Putin are setting up a commission. And a lot of this stuff, I talked about this stuff yesterday, and I told you how the West, they hate May 9th. They hate May 9th when Russia celebrates. And Putin even said that's probably the biggest celebration in at least in Belarus and in Russia. It's a big day, when the Soviet Union defeated the Nazis with a little bit of help from the United States and maybe some other countries over there. But mostly it was the Soviet Union, and a lot of historians in America actually even recognize that. They say that it was Russia that did it. They paid by far the biggest price, and the United States paid a tiny, tiny little price. Very little, very few people, not even a dent, not even a 1.1% of the population in the States died. But Russia lost a huge amount, and Belarus lost 1/3 of its population, massacred by these Nazis. So anyhow, but they are setting up a commission to protect the history of what really happened in World War II, because they're, like Medvedev said, and Putin said, and Lukashenko even said, and a lot of people are saying, and it's very obvious, they're trying to change the history, and they're trying to like write Russia out of it, like saying Russia had very little or nothing to do with it, with the defeat of the Nazis, when in fact they had most everything to do with it. And they're changing all sorts of other things. Like I just told you about Lukashenko saying that it was the Americans. Americans are trying to say they freed all of the people from the concentration camps, when most of them were freed by the Soviet Union. I think there were definitely some freed by Americans mostly. There was at least two. I think Dachau, I believe that was made by, they were freed by the Americans. But then I said a lot of that fake stuff came out afterwards. And Americans even knew that, you know, there is records of that. And somebody probably, I think I even had them myself. If I knew how to do this stuff, I could put them on my site. Maybe Google would cancel me right away for that, because that stuff, don't pay any attention to that man behind the curtain. That's one of those sort of deals, you know. Okay. And of course, like I said, they're talking about the growth of Nazism. I've always been talking about that as well. And of course, it was already existing, okay, so in Latvia and Lithuania and things like that. But it's just getting bigger and bigger. And of course, it used to only be in the western part of Ukraine. Now it's spread all throughout Ukraine. Now, as you see, Lindsey Graham and all these people, Ursula von der Leyen, who's from Germany, that's spread there. You know, they're glorifying the Nazis. And I don't know. And like I said, they go now to like Japan, and even Japan, they're trying to say that it was Russia that dropped the nuclear bombs, not the United States, that Russia dropped them on Hiroshima and things, that they're very slowly changing that. Oh, very incredible, incredible. You may as well just burn the books, but they don't use books anymore. They change the stuff online. Maybe get rid of all the books. Like I keep saying, everybody, save your books, especially the old books. Because, you know, they're rewriting things in newer books that are published now. That's why when I got this, and I haven't even read it yet, I'm hoping to. It's a very, very big, thick book, but it's Rizanovsky. It's a history of Russia. And I got I think it's, I think it was, he started writing that in the 60s. And there's a benefit, of course, to getting the earlier ones because things are changing. And I guess the later ones, they're starting to now put a bunch of woke stuff in it. You know, the history of Russia. I don't know, that maybe women or something, I'm not even sure. But I've looked at other history, like history of Islam and stuff, and it's written, I think it was, who was the guy that wrote that one? I can't remember the name, but it's a lot of fake crap in there too. Even though maybe it was written in the 70s or something, but it's a lot of fake crap to get, you know, to make sure that you hate the Muslims and things like that, you know. They're so weird. They wear these things on their head, and all of them cover up their women entirely, and things like that. I don't know. There's things, of course, I don't agree with, you know, with Islam and Muslims, but they overdo it. Anyway, so many things in the West, but I don't think the Orthodox Christians lie. They see Muslims as their brothers as well. Very much different. Orthodox Christianity to the Christianity, most of it in the West, they tell you that Muslims are evil and things like that. I've even heard it from them myself, a lot of people. And they have their little things. So anyway, forget about that. Okay, there's also a fire in Tbilisi in Georgia Republic. Huge fire there too. Huge fires. I think there was one even, well, always in Russia too, because Ukraine keeps bombing a lot of the energy infrastructure and things like that too. And yes. Okay. There was another thing. Zelensky, I don't know if it was in the same one of his nightly little news things or not, but he said, oh, the Russians are concerned, or maybe he said afraid, that there might be an attack or attacks during the May 9th parade, maybe on the parade itself, and you have a lot of world leaders there. I think there's like 20 of them all together. And even Fico is going to be there. I don't know about Orban. I don't think he's going to be there. How many are from Europe? I don't know. Maybe only Fico. Like I said, I love Fico. Fico. I wish I could do something for that guy, because what a courageous and great leader he is. Unfortunately, his country is so small. He got everything right about COVID and all that. They're blessed, those people in Slovakia, to have such a leader. And he's the guy they tried to kill, remember? I mentioned that again. I think they put 8 bullets in him. He barely lived, and now he's still the leader of Slovakia. Tremendous guy. Okay. So, anyway, Zelensky said, oh, they're afraid or they're concerned. And what was his words here? Did I write his words even? But he said they're right to do so. He said they're right to worry about that. And there's a lot of things pointing. You know, they like terrorist attacks. They're killing generals. They're bombing cars. They're killing journalists. We used to call that terror attacks, but when Ukraine does it, it's not a terror attack. So they're not terrorists, state-sponsored terrorism. I guess when certain other countries do it, which are actually the good countries, the only ones that do it are the good countries, you know, maybe. And it's like, I don't even see Hamas ever doing that sort of thing. But yet Netanyahu thinks so. Yeah, anyway, I already talked about October 6th in many videos. Okay, yeah, they never talk about Ukraine's bombing of apartment buildings, sending it, and they do this nearly on a daily basis. They even bombed the United States partnership-owned, you know, oil pumping stations. You know, it doesn't even carry Russian oil. It's coming from Kazakhstan, and they bomb those too, the Ukrainians. I guess U.S. stays silent on that as well. Okay. I don't know, is that about all? Yeah, I guess about it. So, the other things, I didn't really emphasize a lot of things as much as I probably could have. Maybe I should face this way. So you guys saw a lot of the Academy of Sciences, Akademia Nauk here. The microscope up there. I don't know if there's anything on the other side over there. Too bad there's always some construction. Why do they have to keep renovating stuff? Why do they have to keep moving, like with garbage trucks? What are these places in the UK where they're on a big strike and huge amounts of garbage piled up all over in the streets, you know? Or Berlin, where they don't even cut the grass on places like this right here. Wow. So why do they have to have these machines going all the time, especially in the summertime? Well, probably because it's frozen in the winter. Anyway, so what are these? A lot of women coming out of there. A lot of them pretty girls, like woo woo. Anyhow, you guys, too bad it's you can't see so well with this, and I can't go up and stick it in their faces there. Some of these young ladies. As you notice, a lot of Belarusian women, they have long hair like this. You know, not the older ones. Like the one in the middle is a little bit older, I guess. I guess the older you get, the shorter your hair gets. By the way, I was going to cut my hair. There's a nice young lady over there too. See that long hair flapping in the breeze? Anyhow, I think there's a guy. Oh, and I keep forgetting. I wanted to mention. It's a little bit difficult to say, but there's a guy here in Belarus, maybe about the same age as me, and I think he films a lot of the women on the streets. And if you guys want me to find out what it is and I can list it, just let me know, and I will find out for sure, and I'll put it in my comments, because a lot of you, I'm looking at all kinds of young ladies out there right now. I should actually maybe just go filming women, but you don't want to stick a camera. You have to do it sneaky, I guess. But he goes right up to him and starts talking to him in English, by the way. So anyway, so that's about it for today. Maybe I'll take a couple shots and maybe photos, and I'll add it to this. Put at the beginning or the end like I did the last time, if you guys appreciate that. And thanks for joining me. Thanks for the comments. And yeah, I can't wait to get out, go to Borisov, other places, see a little bit more of Belarus when the opportunity arises. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.